So, J. Ruud, what lovable book are we talking about today?
Well, Stacey Margaret Jones, I'll give you a hint. I've got the conch.
Lord of the Flies?
Oh, man.
Ha ha ha. Also, I think it's pronounced conch.
It's pronounced conch in America. It's pronounced conch in Britain, where this book was written.
Well, welcome to Between the Covers. You may notice a couple different things in our setup. For one thing, I'm on the wrong side of you. And the other
That's
is...
right.
The other is, of course, the set. We are coming to you now from our 3 months rental in Burgundy, France, where we have moved. So we have picked up from Arkansas in the United States, and we have moved to France. And we're in the long process to find a permanent home here and settle in. But for the foreseeable future, we will be recording our episodes of Between the Covers from here in Yonne, France, not far from Auxerre. So, welcome to France. Bienvenue.
Bienvenue.
All right. Well,
Bonjour.
I don't need the other hints, but why don't you give them to me since you probably worked hard on them?
I worked so hard. I was like days contemplating what clues to give you. The second clue was sucks to your asthma.
That one I wouldn't have known. You should have started with that.
I guess I should have. And the third was pig's head on a stick.
Ooh, see, none of those I would have known. It's been a long time since I read Lord of the Flies.
I guess no, you're right. I guess sucks to your asthma would have been a better beginning.
Okay.
So we are starting actually our third season, basically.
All right.
Because we had a bit of time off, at least a month, I guess, without posting one of our podcasts because we were in the midst of a major move.
Oofta. Any day now we'll recover.
Yeah. So, but we are basically our third season.
Yes.
This is the first episode of our third season.
Yes.
It is the 75th book we're going to be talking about today on the list of 100.
Yes. Welcome to Between the Covers, where each week, now that we're back for season 3, J. Ruud makes the case for one of the novels he has selected for his list of the 100 most lovable novels in the English language. And today we are discussing Lord of the Flies, which I got on the first clue, which almost never happens.
In fact, this is probably the first time it's happened.
Yes. So why don't you tell us, before we go into this more, can you tell us a little bit about when did the book come out? How long is it? That kind of thing. Just kind of general reader facts.
The book came out in 1954. It's a pretty short novel. It's 240 pages. It played on the neuroses of Cold War Britain when it came out. It actually got positive reviews when it came out, but it really struggled to sell out its original printing of 3,000 copies.
Interesting.
The thing is, it was chosen by no less a reviewer than E.M. Forster as the outstanding novel of the year, which helped to popularize it. And the fact that the novel's characters are all adolescent boys made it potentially appealing YA text. So if you were going to high school in America in the late 50s or the 60s or the early 70s,
or the 80s,
it would have been very difficult for you to get out of high school without having read Lord of the Flies. By 2015, it had sold 10 million copies worldwide.
It's interesting to me that, we all read Lord of the Flies because it was about boys. But we all didn't read Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. That was for girls to read.
Well,
I'm just saying it's interesting.
It's interesting.
So,
but we've talked about this before. Boys' books are considered the things that everybody's going to read.
Right.
Girls' books are not going to be read by boys, so they get kind of put in the back shelf.
Well, it's always like the less powerful communities have to read the literature of the powerful, right? If they want to be considered well-read, right? And the powerful read it if they want to seem,
worthy of their power.
Humanity. Yeah, a human. Anyway, it bears noting, okay? Because I did read this. And it does always, now it makes me think of that information I saw on that experiment where they put boys they just closed them off in a house for like a week or something, and within 2 days they had to stop the experiment because it was getting so brutal and bullying. And they put girls in the same situation, and within 24 hours they had committees for cleaning and cooking and emotional support. And so this book seems like it does have something to say.
It has something very true to say.
Well, we're getting really ahead of ourselves. Sorry. I guess I'm kind of counting on the fact that you, too, have read Lord of the Flies, but maybe you have not, or if you have, it's been a while, like for me, and we can talk about it. So, besides you, J. Ruud, who else likes this book?
Well, it's been ranked as number 41 on the Modern Library's list of the greatest novels of the 20th century. It appears on Time's list of the 100 greatest novels in English since 1923. It's on the Guardian's list of the 100 best novels in English. It's on the Observer's list of 100 greatest novels of all time in any language. And it came in as number 93, which seems pretty high, on the BBC's list of the 100 greatest British novels. In 2008, the London Times ranked William Golding, the author of this novel, third on the list of the 50 greatest British writers since World War II.
Oh, my. Okay.
Number 3.
Interesting. Well.
Yeah.
So it's a big one.
Yeah. Golding won the Nobel Prize in 1984 after he published a novel called Rites of Passage in 1980. Which won the Booker Prize.
Oh.
So most people don't realize that William Golding wrote more than one book.
Bless his heart, he got too famous.
Because he really won the Nobel Prize on the strength chiefly of the book that he had written 30 years earlier, Lord of the Flies.
Makes sense. So, all right, so before we go ahead, let's see if you can rise to the challenge of the down and dirty summary, J. Ruud, in which you give us the elevator speech for the book, not the one-page summary for the publisher. And basically, you're answering the question, you're at a dinner party or on an elevator, and someone says, "Oh, I've heard of that book. What's it about?"
All right. Well, this I do count on the elevator going slowly.
Well, you won't win the Harps of Glory that way.
The novel is set in the near future during what the text hints is a nuclear war. The plot, as most of you will recall, because I'm sure most of you have read this book, involves a group of boys from an unnamed British public school who, en route by air to a place of safety, are victims of a plane crash that has killed all the adults on their plane and left them stranded on a remote and uninhabited island. They begin by trying to run their microcosm of a society in an orderly manner, as the grown-ups would do, but end up devolving into savagery.
All right. That is Harps of Glory. Truly well done, sir. You prepared for that. Instead of being shocked, and then talking for 2 hours. Like all the people who get up to give a speech and say, "Well, I didn't really prepare in your remarks," and then talk for 45 minutes. Don't ever do that, friends. Yeah. Prepare your remarks. Everyone will really appreciate it. Yeah. All right. So, all right, that's good. That reminds me, because really all I remember is the devolving into chaos from reading the book. I think I must have been in junior high when I read it. I feel like I was pretty young younger than high school, maybe.
I think I was 9th grade. Possibly 10th when I read it the first time. And I actually had not read it since, I think.
Until this?
Until preparing for
Okay, I was going to say, did you read it to prepare for this, or are you winging it like me?
No.
We can't both wing it.
I actually did read it again.
All right. Okay, so...
And it holds up, it seems to me.
Well, tell us why you think this book is lovable.
I think it's lovable because it takes sort of a kind of cliched, idealistic look at human nature that suggests that, we can survive anything. Human beings are great, and no matter what is put in front of them, if they really dig down deep, they can conquer and thrive in a difficult environment. And basically Golding says, yeah, that's hogwash.
You can't do anything you put your mind to.
No, you can't. Actually, the inspiration for the story came from a popular young adult adventure novel called The Coral Island.
Okay, I didn't know this.
Which was popular in Golding's youth in Britain. It was a Robinson Crusoe-esque story by a Scotsman named R.M. Ballantyne that was first published in 1857. And in the book, there are three boys who are shipwrecked on a remote island, and they deal with the hardships and difficulties, but they emerge victorious, and it's implied that's because of the civilizing effects of Christianity and British colonialism.
Oh my God.
Golding, who was a teacher and apparently was asked to teach
Knew
that book.
a lot about boys.
And knew a lot about
Busted.
tween-age boys.
Busted.
Yeah, he considered the book completely unrealistic. And he asked his wife if maybe he shouldn't write a novel about a group of tween-age boys that shows how they would really act in such a situation. And she said, yeah. And so he did.
Look, it's always the wife.
Yeah, well, she was encouraging him. So it's a reductio ad absurdum of the themes of the Coral Island.
Okay. Explain that term, please, sir.
Well, it's a logical term meaning reduction to the absurd.
It just takes it so far that it seems.
Yeah, you can see how ridiculous it is.
You can see how ridiculous the cliche is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. I see. Because I was going to say, wait, that experiment proved it's actually real. Well, it reminds me a little bit of Hawthorne, when we talked about the Scarlet Letter, and I was talking about my trailblazing high school term paper on how realistic Pearl was, even though she, Hawthorne is a master, so she's both a symbol of something, she conveys literary meaning, but she's compelling as a character because she's based on the behavior of his actual child, right? So he writes her as a child would act instead of a kind of cliche, bad seed or perfect child. You know what I mean? He writes her as a compelling real child. Yeah. So it sounds similar in that he's taking an idea that he wants to explore, a social idea he wants to explore, but he's basing it on his own observations of real children.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they are children.
They are. Even the chief characters still are really children. And you realize that in the end when, I don't know if I should give away the ending.
Don't give away the ending. Just say what you realize in the end.
You realize it in the end, that
they are kids.
They have been kids all along, trying to act like adults.
Which also strains them psychologically because they're trying to do things they know need to be done, but they're not capable of understanding, the consequences of their actions or the nuance, right? They may have decreased empathy because of their brain development stages, etc.
Yeah, but it's also true that human nature in general is being criticized, I think, by
it's a larger theme. It's not a specific adolescent development novel.
Yeah, Golding doesn't have any faith in the innate goodness of the human race. He sets out to sort of debunk such notions. He's playing on, like as I said before, the fears of nuclear war that are apparent, that are rampant in the early 1950s.
Right. Right, because why would we have developed this weapon we have to be afraid of if we were inherently good?
Yeah, true. And he knew war firsthand. He was a lieutenant in the Royal Navy in the Second World War. Yeah. And he actually had commanded a landing craft on D-Day. So he knew that a third world war would be awful. And this is set during that time, although he doesn't actually show you the war itself. What he shows you is human nature. The implication being this is why you have to fear this third world war.
Well, it does seem particularly appropriate right now. I mean, we had a previous president who said that the arc of history bends toward goodness, right?
Yeah.
And now it's like everybody's like, oh, the guardrails are off. I can say and do whatever I want to anybody because it's all about power and I have power and you don't.
Yeah.
And, I think that's what's been particularly disorienting for you and me in the United States because we look around and see people, we're all operating according to certain agreed upon tacit rules of society. And now something is completely upending that to say that it's only power. Power is the only moral structure. Structure is not moral, right?
Yeah.
It's like we're all on this freaking island of the Lord of Lies.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly the arc of the story of Lord of the Flies. They begin. Ralph is sort of the protagonist of the novel, and he's sort of a natural leader. And they find a conch shell on the beach. He blows into it. And all those boys who have survived the plane crash
I see.
Come when they hear the sound.
Right.
And the conch becomes the rallying point where when you hear it, you come. And they have a meeting. And one of the rules they make is that anyone holding the conch is allowed to speak and not be interrupted by others. And it's part of this whole sort of set of rules that they try to make at the very beginning.
Right, because rules are comforting, right?
Yeah.
Like your guardrails keep you from falling off the cliff.
Yeah.
Societal rules are guardrails.
Yeah, and they've got no grown-ups there
Right.
to put up these guardrails for them.
Or to save them from
the
consequences of their mistakes.
So they need to make them themselves, and they kind of, at least the older kids kind of realize that in the beginning.
Yeah.
We've got to have rules and obey them. After all, we're not savages. We're English, and the English are best at everything. That's what Jack says. Jack is Ralph's kind of chief competition for leader.
Okay.
So they have this idea at the beginning, and it begins to fall apart largely in ways that you alluded to. Jack, who is the leader he's actually kind of the leader of the boys' choir, and he takes the members of the choir from the school and turns them into a hunting band, and they begin to hunt, and this notion of power overwhelms this initial thought that we're English and we can, have rules and obey them. Ultimately, toward the end of the book, Ralph says, "You're breaking the rules," and Jack says, "Who cares?"
Wow. Where have I heard that recently?
Yeah.
Also, I mean, it's really interesting to me that the aspect of power, money is something you can hoard, right? Like you get a lot of money, you can just keep it back until you want to use it. But power has no use unless it's exerted, right? You don't really hoard power. You use it or you don't. It doesn't mean you don't have influence, right?
No.
But power, is... You have a huge bank account, you have the security of resources, you can pay for things, whatever. But power exists in its exertion. So if power is your value, you're going to constantly be exerting it, right? Or testing.
Yeah.
And the way to do it is to say, okay, we have a rule, I don't care. And then if your opposition accedes to you, then you're confirmed, right?
Yeah. What happens in Lord of the Flies is that Ralph wants two things basically. One is they need to build shelters on the beach. 2, they need to keep a fire going on top of this mountain so that any passing ship will see it and rescue them.
Right.
And it turns out that the only ones who really care about building the shelters are Ralph, his kind of disciple Piggy. Piggy is the intellectual of the group, but he's fat and wears glasses, so everybody makes fun of him.
So he's a geek.
So he's a geek. Of course, they need his glasses to start the fire. So he's kind of he's the person who makes things happen, even though others make fun of him.
Right, because their previous societal mores downgraded him, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're bringing some of their old society, obviously, into this new one. They can't help it. That's the way they've been trained to assess people.
Yeah.
That's
And
interesting.
then there's Simon, who is quite an interesting fellow. He's kind of he's almost a mystic of some sort, and he loves to go into the woods and kind of commune with things, and he thinks deeper than anybody. He's the other one who helps build the shelters while everybody else is playing. Jack leads his boys on a hunt. They let the fire go out, which is, the whole raison d'etre of the group. But killing the beasts becomes more important than saving themselves by following the rules. The little ones, who you know basically none of their names. They're just the littler kids.
The weans.
Yeah, who do what they're told.
The wee bairns.
They're afraid of a beast. They think there's a beast on the island, and the beast can come and get them. There's one kid in the beginning who's afraid of a beast, and then the next day nobody sees him, and nobody ever sees him again.
Oh my God!
And you just don't know. People start believing in this beast, and the bigger kids, Jack and Ralph and Piggy, are like, okay, this is ridiculous. There's no beast.
It reminds me of Lost, where there was that thing in the forest.
Yeah.
I mean, Lost obviously is evoking Lord of the Flies,
I think
because they're
so,
lost.
yeah.
They have to form a new society.
Yeah.
They have power plays and struggle.
Yeah.
And then they have something else, something another, right?
Yeah.
The laws don't seem the physical world isn't the same, Anyway, go on. It's just, I couldn't help it. It reminds me of Lost.
I know.
It was a good show.
But Simon says, maybe there is a beast. And then, after getting sort of poo-pooed by everybody else, he says, what I mean is, maybe it's only us.
So is the implication that one of the older boys killed him to enforce a fear? Which also, authoritarian societies always rely on the fear, right? A fear of people, so that they'll have faith in your power, right?
Yeah.
They'll stoke your power because they're afraid of something else. Then you are the protection against the other thing. Like it always works like that.
Yeah. I don't know that it goes that far. It just is a kind of a mystery what happened to this kid. And nobody mentions it. But it is possible. I mean, there is one of Jack's followers named Robert does seem to have kind of a weird obsession with little kids.
Well, I suppose too, they're on a deserted island. They don't know what's there.
Yeah.
It's possible that he could have fallen in somewhere and died or not been able to get out. I mean, anything could have happened to him. But the fact that he was, a writer is writing it. So it isn't a news story. So the details that he chooses to share are meaningful.
Yeah.
Right?
And when Simon says, maybe the beast is us, he's hit the nail on the head, because the beast is inside of them.
Yeah.
There's one point later in the book, and this is not really It's kind of a spoiler, I guess, but I don't think you can talk about the significance of the book without talking about this incident, because Jack and his hunters kill this huge wild pig, and as a kind of symbol of their victory, I guess, but also a kind of a trophy that is intended to honor the beast. Mm-hmm. They stick the pig's head on. They put the pig's head on a stick, mm-hmm. and it stays there until, it just stays there until everything's rotted off, and then it's a skull on the stick. Simon comes out of the woods at one point, and he comes face to face with the pig's head on a stick, and there's this rather magnificent passage where Simon comes across the head. It's swarming with flies, mm-hmm. And Golding calls it the Lord of the Flies.
The pig's head?
Yeah.
Oh.
But the Lord of the Flies is, in fact, a literal translation of the biblical word Beelzebub, which is
my gosh, I got chills.
A name for the devil.
I know.
So Simon, who may be having an epileptic seizure, there's a hint that he may be subject to those. He's kind of hallucinating that the head is speaking to him. So Simon's head was tilted slightly up. His eyes could not break away from the Lord of the Flies hung in space before him. "What are you doing out here all alone? Aren't you afraid of me?" Simon shook. "There isn't anyone to help you, only me, and I'm the beast." Simon's mouth labored, brought forth audible words. "Pig's head on a stick." "Fancy thinking the beast was something you could hunt and kill," said the head. For a moment or two, the forest and all the other dimly appreciated places echoed with the parody of laughter. "You knew, didn't you? I'm part of you. Close, close, close. I'm the reason why it's no go, why things are what they are." The laughter shivered again. Simon found he was looking into a vast mouth. There was a blackness within, a blackness that spread. Simon was inside the mouth. He fell down and lost consciousness. And shortly after this incident, he's crawling along, and Jack and his hunters are in a kind of frenzy of worship, sort of the beast, and they kill Simon as if he's a beast.
But the call is coming from inside the house, is basically what that is.
Yeah. So so the Lord of the Flies is not something exterior to human beings. I'm a part of you. The head says it's inborn in human nature. It isn't simply present in the boys who are lacking adult supervision. It's the setting of the novel, the war in which each side will use everything in their power to annihilate the other.
Right.
Makes it clear that the beast is there among the adults as well. And Ralph says, toward the book's end, what went wrong? We did everything adults would do.
Well, that's what
went wrong. Yeah, that's the irony in this post-nuclear war setting.
Well, you needed some girls. That's part of
that's another thing.
You needed some girls to make committees for like hospitality, food, safe homes, emotional support.
You need girls to tame the beast, I guess.
Well, I mean, these are generalizations. Obviously, stereotypes may be true of a group, but not of the individuals, right? Each individual lives their own.
That is true.
Own existence. Generally speaking, women communicate to build community. Men communicate to climb, right? To assert, right? To show sometimes power, right?
Yeah.
And without the kind of female side, the community is secondary to the power. But that's not what he's saying. I know I'm kind of projecting on this. He's talking about human. But wait, he's making a point about humanity, but he's making it only through boys, which is...
Well, it's not... The book is not... There's a reason for that in the book. And Golding was a teacher at an all-boys school.
No, I understand.
This is what he's
I'm not
using
faulting
as his...
him. In fact, I think his idea was brilliant. His wife's support of it was brilliant. And the book has stayed popular because it shares something with us about humanity that might be hard to communicate otherwise, right? Like, we need this book collectively to understand ourselves, especially in a way we don't want to understand ourselves.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying.
Well, it's about human nature. It's also about...
It's about human nature. It's about patriarchal human nature.
Yes. It's also about leadership. You've got one leader who's solely devoted to the welfare of the people that he leads in Ralph. And then you've got another kind of leader who's only interested in power.
Right.
And he plays on popular fears to get power.
Right.
He uses violence and force to keep power.
Yep.
And Ralph says, he asks Zach at one point, which is better, to have laws and agree or to hunt and kill? Now, rational people would all agree on the first option, but then people are not necessarily rational.
No, they have their own agendas. And without the guardrails, right, of collective societal mores, we'll build nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera.
Et cetera. So I won't spoil the end for you.
Please don't. I don't want you to, because I actually don't remember it, and I might reread it because it seems pretty cogent.
It is, even today, 70 some years after its publication.
Well, it reminds you of that protest sign you see a lot at all the marches, which is, I can't believe I'm still out here protesting this.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess this rubbish, and the staying power of this novel is, I guess, a signifier of that we're still, we're still on the hamster wheel. Like, we're just covering the same ground,
Yeah. Well, let me say one thing. Go a completely different direction. If you're a writer, as in fact you are, anyway,
supposedly,
those listening to me are right, it might be satisfying to learn that this book was rejected by numerous publishers before it was finally accepted by Faber and Faber.
Oh, I mean, that's a big one.
Well, it is, but
yeah, he had to keep trying.
There were a lot more back in those days than the Big Five,
right?
Because of mergers and things. Anyway, one editor said that the book was absurd, that it was rubbish and dull. And even after it was accepted, the publisher wanted a major revision, including Golding had to jettison the entire first section of the book, which described the evacuation of the boys because of the war. So it's kind of...
Oh, that's not in the book?
No.
You just kind of start in medias res or whatever.
That's exactly what you do.
So you just begin...
And you kind of get these hints about why they are there and what was going on.
But that's also interesting, because it would be a different book with that, but also this makes it more universal, right?
Yeah.
More timeless.
Yeah.
This could be any time. We're not anchored to a specific political situation.
Yeah.
Interesting. Why didn't they like that? Too dicey? Or just boring? Or did they really just think it needs to start with the action?
I think that was probably it, that it would be, if you just started with the action, you'd get people into it quicker.
Well,
the title was originally Strangers from Within.
Oh, that's good too, though.
But
Lord of the Flies
to Lord of the Flies.
I will say, my novel, I knew it started slow and I didn't know how to fix it until my committee reader, John Vandersly, said, why don't you start with the disappearance? And I, when you get good advice on something you're writing, and you know it immediately, like, oh, duh. And he was completely right, because I was doing all this, I had done all this work, this background to lead up to this, but I didn't have to start with that in the book. I needed to start with the reason that we even care about the story.
Yeah.
And I suspect he got good advice there.
I believe he did.
Awesome.
So there are 2 English film versions of the novel.
Oh, okay.
There's a 1963 one from Peter Brook, and there's one from 1990 by Harry Hook. So by Brook or by Hook, you can see a movie of this.
That's hilarious.
But the 63 one is more faithful to the novel.
Oh, okay.
But you shouldn't just watch the movie.
No. They should do one now. I mean, it's so apropos.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to watch one now, too.
You should read the novel first.
Yeah. And the novel, how long did you say it is?
240 pages.
Yeah.
Take you...
You'd read it in a couple days if you had a good weekend.
Yeah. Like I said, I read the book for the first time since high school, and I didn't think it had lost any of its power.
Well, when something's literary, it keeps its power because you begin to you understand it more as you grow.
Yeah.
And as your life includes more experiences, then the nuances of the book become more apparent to you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would think that it would hold, I would hope. Why might people not like this book?
Well, there are no girls in it.
Don't say it like that.
No, I'm just saying, I mean, you've already pointed that out, and that, it is a weakness, I suppose, just generally. For this particular novel, though, it would be weird to have any girls there.
No, I understand. He wrote the book he wrote. He gets to write the book he wants to write.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that it is about the patriarchy, although it's not positioned as being about the patriarchy. It's positioned as being about human nature, which it's about male human nature, I would say.
Yeah.
And also, one of the creators I follow on TikTok and YouTube and podcasting, I can't remember her name though, because she has different handles. But she was talking recently about how the matriarchy isn't the opposite of the patriarchy in that it isn't women doing to men what men do to women. The matriarchy is the opposite in that instead of focus on power, it is a focus on protecting the vulnerable and building communities in which everyone is safe. So that's obviously this book is not about that. So I'm not faulting this book
direct
for that.
opposite of what this book is about.
I'm not faulting this book for that. What I am saying is it's a book about a specific kind of human nature, right?
Yeah.
It isn't about what we could be. It's
Yeah.
about what the patriarchy... The system produces what the system is designed to produce. The patriarchy is obsessed with power. That's all.
You might not like it also if you are somebody who really likes books like The Coral Island. Because...
So you like plain fiction and not literary?
yeah, well, you like... kind of
didactic, idealized fiction.
Idealized views of human
understandable,
nature.
Understandable.
Like books to present that.
If you might want not want to bounce from Sweet Valley High to Lord of the Flies.
Probably not.
Or you might want to. All right, well that's a good point.
All right.
Okay. Well,
So, is it time for Chaos Reader?
well, now that we're in France and I have more time every day, I'm reading more. I did finally finish Gerald Ford. I finished it here. It was good. I will say I had a very positive opinion of Ford after finishing that book, but it was because the writer wasn't as objective as he could have been because he was part of the Ford administration, which I didn't realize until I got to the part in the book where the writer says, the meeting included blah-de-blah, blah-de-blah, and me. And I was like, what? But it still was a very interesting book. And I had a positive impression of Ford before, especially because of the pardon. And I have more specific positive impression of him now. I do wish it had included more about his family life, because that, to me, is very important in terms of why a president is the way he is, in terms of his wife and kids and stuff. It does talk about her starting Betty Ford and how
Everybody loved Betty Ford.
Ford said that her addiction rehabilitation centers probably help more Americans than he did, which I thought was really an astute observation. But it was a good book. I'm done with it, and now I wanted to read a novel, so I'm reading What We Can Know by Ian McEwan. Speaking of nuclear war, this is something I don't normally like to read, which is a post-apocalyptic novel. But it's Ian McEwan.
Like Lord of the Flies.
Like Lord of the Flies. I am an Ian McEwan completist, so when he writes a new book, I read it. I think I've read almost all of his books. Some of his older ones I haven't gotten yet. But
well, then you're just a semi-completist.
Anyway, this book also reminds me of Pale Fire because the main character is an academic after a worldwide flood. Centers of population have changed. And before the flood and I think there was a nuclear war, this famous poet wrote a corona for his wife's birthday, which is a series of 15 sonnets. And he wrote it out in hand on vellum to give to her for her birthday. There was only one copy, and it is lost. So these academics are all trying to understand or recreate the poem from different people's journals and social media posts and all this stuff.
So it's a textual restoration of this.
It's really, really
text.
Interesting. And it's also in a period of time in which what climate scientists are telling us we should be concerned about has happened. So it's in 2119, I think. So it's just a really interesting, it's near enough to our time, that they have access to some things. And it's just really, really interesting. And it's about all the people at the dinner party where the poem was read and their interpersonal responses to each other. And, there's a married couple who are really fighting. They hate each other. They both are having affairs. One of them knows about the other, but is keeping her own a secret. Another couple has a young child and they're, concerned about leaving the baby, but they're in the room. And the whole time that the poet is reading the poem, the guy is thinking about solving a problem at work because he just can't listen to the poem. But he's the first one who talks after there's a whole silence after the poem is read. And then he's the first one who says, beautiful, because he realizes that everybody's gotten quiet and the poem is over. Anyway, it's really very Ian McEwan enjoyable, and I'm just 48 or so pages into it, so I'm really enjoying it, and that's what I'm reading. So,
okay, cool then.
We would like to thank our viewers and listeners. Thanks for coming back for season 3. And we're looking forward to providing more episodes for you from
25 more.
25 more episodes.
As we are now technically 3/4 of the way through
awesome.
The list.
So 25 more episodes for you from France because we have relocated here permanently, and we'll keep you updated on the progress if you like. So follow, comment, share, tell a friend, a book-loving friend about our podcast. That's the best way to spread the word. We're independent. We don't have a network, and we just do it because we love it, and we love to talk to you about books.
And we love to talk to each other about them.
Yeah. So see you next week. Between the covers.